It's time for me to tell you all about my IT outage travel situation. I was in Denver for a business trip and decided to extend my stay for about 2 days just to be able to check out some of the local things in Denver and see what it had to offer because I didn't know the next time I would be in Denver. We organized a little adventure, which I'll have to tell you all about that at another time and date, but we successfully explored. And then my friend was having a little bit of issues checking into her flight, and also my friend's brother was having issues adding additional luggage to his flight, and he was in another country. Something was a little off and a little weird, but we thought nothing of it. Went to the hotel and ended up just going to dinner and then went to sleep. No big deal. That morning, we received a cancellation notice for our flight. It was like, what's going on here? Why is my flight just canceled? We're looking on the internet, seeing that there's some big issue and people are having these IT issues and outages and whatnot. So I was like, okay, that sucks. Flight's just canceled. So I was happy because our flight got canceled while we were not at the airport. We were notified before. So I was like, okay, no big deal. I'll just extend my stay at this hotel and we'll carry on with our day until we figure out what's happening. Well, that did not work out according to plan because as I was going downstairs, or actually I called downstairs and I was like, hey, can I extend my room? We're having some issues. They said, we can't do anything because our systems are down as well. Call back in about an hour. I was like, okay, that's weird. So I go eat breakfast and I check in with the counter again. I said, hey, my flight just got canceled. I need to extend my trip. Can you help me out? What can we do? The guy was low-key rude. I was not a fan of how he treated the situation. But he was like, yeah, there's nothing that I can do. Our systems are down. We can't do anything. And I'm like, but like I have money to have more. He's like, we can't do anything. You'll have to call the headquarters to be able to extend. And this is like right up against my checkout time. So I'm just like, what do I do? And he's just like, you can fill out this piece of paper with your email and phone number. And that's how we're going to check out for now. And I'm just like, okay, well, that sucks. So having the flight canceled was an inconvenience, but the big convenience that we had was that the friend that I was traveling with actually had a family member that was in the area. He was about 15 minutes away from where we were and even closer to the airport. So she calls in a family favor, which I'm ever so grateful for, and we're able to go and stay at his house. But let me rewind, because not only were we at a hotel that I could not extend, we also had a rental car. And the rental car time, I timed it specifically to be able to get it to the airport and then go on to my flight, which had now been canceled. So I looked to possibly extend my car rental, to which it was about $300 to extend it for additional 2 days. And I was like, there's no way. Plus it was an electric car. Another time, I'll tell you about my electric car experience. We're not having it again. Either way. Okay, so I go to the airport. We drop off the car, and then we're able to go and Uber to the uncle's house. By this time, all day long, literally, we could not get anybody on the phone we were flying with Delta, and then we were not able to go online and exchange our flights for anything. Everything was literally just gridlocked, just blocked. Nobody had any answers because nobody was actually answering. We were on hold for hours on multiple different phones, trying to find help any way that we could. Finally, the system kind of unlocked itself so that we can rebook our flights, but this is on a Friday. We were not able to rebook anything until the Sunday, right? Until the Sunday, so a couple of days just after. So we have a place to stay, which I'm very grateful for. And then Sunday rolls around, and we go to the airport pretty early so that we can make sure that we're getting on here. We're hearing some success, some failures with people at this time. We go to the airport, loads of people with children, elderly people of all kinds at the airport, kind of stuck because they didn't have any options. So we also, flying Delta, I got access to the Delta lounge, so we stood in the line for almost like 30 to 45 minutes just to try to get into the lounge because it was overcrowded because there were a lot of people that were stuck. We get into the Delta lounge, and once we get in there, there's no way that we were leaving because the line was still so long from people being inconvenienced. Anyway, we go to the lounge, we're waiting. We get our first delay, get a second delay, get the third delay, and then my flight gets canceled, to which I have them rebook me for the first time to try to go to a different city, just in case. They rebooked that flight, can't delay, finally cancel. They were not able to rebook me for another flight until Wednesday. So we spent 11 hours at the airport on Sunday just for them to delay, and then cancel. And the reasoning was, they were like, okay, we have a crew, we just are looking for pilots. Or we have a crew and we're just looking for one additional pilot. And then at the last minute, they just decided to cancel. And we're just like, this is ridiculous. So They were rebooking everything, but I'm like, it's Sunday and you're telling me I can't get home until Wednesday. That's insane. But what could I do? I could only just take what they were offering me because I wasn't in a place where I was willing to purchase another flight, which some airlines were selling for thousands of dollars to be able to get out from the airlines that were actually working. So we returned to my friend's uncle's house, and just very thankful that we didn't have to actually look for a hotel, because what people were having to do for hotels, all the hotels around the airport were fully booked. So people were having to drive 30 minutes into Denver, the actual city, to be able to book hotels. But there were also limitations on how much you can spend per night at a hotel. So people were getting capped on what they could spend. And you know, if you go to the city, it's going to be expensive. Not even taking into account that they did not give us any vouchers for like food or hotel. People were having to spend actual real money to be able to be accommodated if they could afford it. If they couldn't afford it, they were in the airport. Some people had spent days in the airport just relying on whatever resources were available. But we know airports, food is not 24 hours, the stores are not 24 hours, so people were literally just stranded, and that just like broke my heart. So we returned to my friend's uncle's house to be able to spend the night there, you know, took a shower, everything. I received a text message from people who were following my stories, because I kind of kept people updated throughout this saga. And I had somebody message me and say, "Are you still stuck in Denver?" And I was like, "Yeah." They said, "Give me a call." I said, "Okay." I gave them a call and they said, "I'm paying for your flight to get home." I'm like, okay. At this point in time, I have no arguments. I was like, this is a great and kind gesture that I'm willing to definitely take in order to get back to the place where I'm supposed to be. So we got the flights booked on separate airlines, but the issue was I needed to get to the airport within the hour, and I had checked back. So literally throw on clothes and run to the airport via Uber to get there, already knowing that probably they weren't going to let me slide, but I figured, hey, why not? We get to the airport, sprinting, trying to see if they will check me in. The kiosk wouldn't let me check in. We go to the counter, like, we can't do anything. Like, no, they're not going to let you check this bag in. It's too short notice. So they said, go over there to the customer service area and then see what they can do to rebook you. Because I had a confirmed flight, and I was like, okay, what to do? Anyway, I'm standing in this area to try to get rebooked, and my other friend goes to talk to another agent who happened to be on the floor. And this person here's my story, here's my dilemma, and is like, come on over here to another area and let me see if I can help you. So she takes me over there. You know, I'm just trying to be as calm and kind as I can, because I know I'm not the only one that's inconvenienced. A lot of people are having the same or similar issues and wanting to get home to their kids, to their families, or to another event, or to a wedding or stuff. People really, really in some difficult situations. So she goes and she's like, oh, okay, well, look. It looks like this 2 o'clock flight has just opened up and the airplane is pretty much free. I can rebook you on this 2 o'clock flight, because online, the only next flight was for the next day at like 11 p.m. So I was like, listen, you could put me wherever you want. I have no problem with you putting me wherever you need me to be, as long as I can get back to Georgia sometime in the next 24 hours. That'd be great. So she rebooks me. We go into the airport, kind of waiting, but my friend happens to leave first, which was great, like literally celebrating as the fact that they were actually boarding, people clapping and everything in the airport. So she goes off and she's good to go. My flight leaves pretty much in the next hour, and I get home. I get home to Georgia, which was a humongous blessing. But then after this comes now trying to get this money back that we have just spent, be it Uber, food, or whatever was going on, trying to get these reimbursements. Now, what I will say is that I know that this wasn't any airline's fault in particular or specifically, but the delays that we had on Delta were absolutely ridiculous. The fact that they had no alternative way to kind of get things back running or figure out what was going on with staffing, because the other thing that was happening is that pilots were literally timing out. So they'd find a pilot, but they had flown the maximum time that they could fly within whatever period, the day's period or whatnot, and they were not legally allowed to fly any longer. So they literally had to clock out and leave and not fly because of that particular restriction. That was probably one of the most frustrating things, because I heard stories about people being on the plane, actually being on the plane and having to deplane because the pilot had timed out or the crew had timed out. That was super inconvenient. But they got their systems up in a way that we can actually submit all these reimbursements and things like that, which I was grateful for, because I didn't know what we would be able to get back. But I will say, to kind of tie this up in a neat bow, that I did submit everything that I had expensed to Delta, and they gave me all the money that I spent back, as well as they were giving out Sky Miles. At first it was like 10,000, and I was like, that's nothing. They gave an additional 10,000. I was like, that's nothing. Then they gave it, so in total they gave us like 30,000 Sky Miles, and then the flight that I originally booked, I also got those back. So I was not upset with what we were able to get back. What I did not receive compensation for was my actual time. The other gripe that I have is that for my friend's trip, I actually purchased hers because she was on the business trip with me, and I got insurance. And, you know, I was like, okay, go through the proper protocol. I'm like, I'm never not giving insurance again, because what if something like this happens today? Only to find out that they have deemed this IT issue, some computer issue, and are deciding not to refund us or compensate us for this particular trip because of some random computer issue. So that insurance group, I'm not very happy with you all, because I guess you just didn't want to take any ownership for something like this. An inconvenience is an inconvenience, and you can't just say it like somebody unplugged the computer. It was a global outage, and for you all to just back out of the deal to say it's not our fault and we're not going to give you any money back is ridiculous. So what I'm going to do as a solution for that is make sure the next time I purchase a trip for business or in general that I use the right credit card that also has the trip protection built into it to be able to get compensated again, instead of being cheated by some of these insurance companies that literally just decide that, oh no, it's like when you have insurance in your house and something random where they're like, oh no, we don't cover water damage, or no, we don't cover, you know, natural disasters. I'm like, oh, wow, what is the point of us spending all this money when you're not going to do what you say that you actually do? All in all, the things that I learned from this trip is to make sure that you get some type of insurance, whether you purchase it or your credit card has it. So just kind of like be doubly covered, just in case your insurance company decides that they don't want anything to do with it. Make sure you keep all your receipts. Try to spend your money on one credit card so that you only have to deal with that particular company and being able to get reimbursed. Number two, stay as calm as possible. It's a hectic situation for everybody involved, and it's no one person's fault in particular. So the nicer that you are, the more people who are willing to actually help you. Number three, be willing to find the good in all of your inconveniences, because somebody has it a whole lot worse than you. There's so many different situations that could have happened to me personally that did not, because I just didn't fit that particular description. But I was ever so grateful for the stuff that I did have access to and the opportunities that were made available to me in this slight traumatic situation. Number four, make sure you always have like the essentials with you. The number of people who were probably without their medication or without like a change of clothes or underwear because they didn't expect to get delayed. Like now I'm always gonna have like a snack, you know, change of underwear, maybe a different shirt or something like that. Keeping all my important medications, if I'm taking any, on my person. So try to have as much as you can in that carry-on, or condense it into like your emergency pack, because some people were very, very delayed, and if you checked your bag in, it was like pulling teeth trying to get it back. So be sure every time that you travel that you have the essentials that you need to be able to make it a day or two or three. I hate to have that particular mentality, but it's critical when emergencies like this arise. Thank you all for listening. You can comment below if you were stuck in this as well, or if you have any questions about other things that I went through. I don't do these videos all the time, but I wanted to make sure that I gave you all a nice, you know, full story about my experience, and pray that I never have to go through that again.